Hello again and welcome to ManchTalk. My name's Tammy Simmons. I'm your host and I'm glad you're joining me today. What's up with all this weather? It seems like it's more like April temperatures than it is June temperatures. You know, a week or so ago we were in the 90s and then now we're back down to dreary, rainy, in the 40s and 50s. It's nuts. But not to worry, from what the weatherman tells us, early next week we should be back in the 80s and 90s and it'll dip back down after that, but at least we'll see something that resembles summer weather. Wanted to talk to you today about some political stuff because, inevitably there's always political stuff to talk about. I wanted to talk about Ward 8 Alderman and State Rep Tom Katisantonis, Democrat from Ward 8. He was charged with tax evasion, theft, and falsifying evidence, felony charges that could be many years in prison. One group of charges would be like 7.5 to 15 years, and then there's another section that would be like 3.5 to 7, and then so he's looking at serious charges of tax evasion and falsifying evidence with regards to the rooms and meals tax at his two pizza places, Grand Slam 2, which is not the Grand Slam on the west side of Manchester. It's the one over there on Mammoth Road, and Tommy K's, which is down on Brown Avenue. So we're not talking about a little bit of mistake on filings or anything like that. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of meals and rooms taxes that were not paid by the establishments owned by Democrat Alderman and State Rep Tom Katisantonis. I don't know how many of you are familiar with how the room and meals tax works, but we pay 9%. So when you buy a pizza at Tommy K's, you pay 9% on top of the price, which is your meals and room tax, and that goes to the state of New Hampshire, and they file those filings like bi-monthly or monthly. It's not like you pay this once a year and oops, he forgot to pay part of it. This is something that's an ongoing thing, and over the past 6 years there's been a lot of underpayments. So that money goes up to the state of New Hampshire, and 40% of those dollars get returned to the communities. So based on the population, Manchester would get a chunk of money back from the meals and rooms tax. So if Tommy Katisantonis did indeed fail to pay hundreds of thousands, upwards of $500,000 to the state of New Hampshire, 40% of that probably should have been coming back to the people of Manchester and would be what offsets our tax bills, because revenues come in mean, if there's enough revenue, that's less that has to be increased on your tax bill. So in fact, if this turns out to be the case, and I'm having a hard time coming up with a scenario where it isn't the case without knowing all the facts, it just seems like this is a huge amount of money and all sorts of charges. It doesn't seem like it was just an oops on a piece of paper. You got Tommy voting to raise your taxes on the aldermanic board, and while at the same time virtually stealing from those same constituents that he's supposed to be representing. It's disgraceful. I sent out a press release last week on behalf of the Manchester Republican Committee calling for Alderman and Representative Katisantonis to resign. I know the former state GOP party chair, Jennifer Horn, called for him to resign. Mayor Gatsis said he should resign and deal with his family issues. I think it's best for the people in Ward 8 that Alderman and State Representative Katisantonis focus on the problems that he's created in his own personal life and resign his positions immediately. I don't know why his Democratic colleagues, regardless of the fact that there's parties involved, I can't imagine not calling for him to resign. I mean, this isn't he said something offensive. This isn't anything minor. This isn't even something like a DWI or you forgot to pay. You're late on your property taxes. This is a significant felon. These are felony charges. I think the people in Ward 8 deserve more. Yet we've got mayoral candidate Joyce Craig has not called for him to step aside. I don't understand why that would be. You either believe that in what's best for the people, or you believe in partisan party politics. Which is it? Which is more important, the people of Manchester and the people of Ward 8, or your party? I'd like to believe that the aldermen in Manchester are above that and would call for his resignation, but yeah, I've yet to see that. So we've got Katisantonis being charged with felonies. As I reported last week, you've got Ward 4 in State Rep Alderman Christopher Herbert wanting to eject old elderly from their homes or have some sort of program to push them out of their homes so that they can get younger people to occupy those homes and generate more tax revenues. I know Alderman Herbert tried to backpedal a little and say, that's not what he meant. But what he said actually does fall in line with the things that he said prior and his philosophical, seems to be his philosophical beliefs. He also had referred to a neighbor with an 85-year-old neighbor with a $350,000 home across the street, when later he admitted that there was no such neighbor with that home, that he just made that up. So I don't know if we need representation on the aldermanic board or at the New Hampshire State House from somebody who just makes up facts as they go along to fit their dialogue. I mean, that's not exactly a quality that I look for in my elected officials. So you've got Katisantonis charged with felonies. You've got Chris Herbert trying to throw grandma out onto the street. You got Bill Berry over there in Ward 10, with his anti-Second Amendment views on things. It's just going to be a colorful year, let's say, for city politics in this election year. And needless to say, I think Manchester Republicans are energized and excited to go forward in this political cycle, because I think things look good for Republicans in the city, and I think that means things look good for the taxpayers in the city. Enough about that. I wanted to reach out to people and ask you if you happen to see debris or trash or furniture or anything like that on the city streets. If you would send me a picture, snap a picture of it and send me the address where it's located, I think I'm going to start showing those weekly. I don't know, short of actually having to handhold the highway department folks, but I do think that the city should be more responsive in picking stuff up, regardless of the fact of whether somebody called to have it picked up or not. If you or I are noticing that it's on the side of the street, I have a hard time believing that somebody driving by in a city vehicle didn't also notice that was on the side of the street. And I think that's a reasonable expectation for our city employees to be more assertive when it comes to keeping our city clean and getting stuff that's left on the side of the road removed. So if you see a couch sitting on the curb, do me a favor, snap a pic, send me an email at manchtalk@gmail.com. That's manchtalk@gmail.com. And just tell me the address where it's located, and I'll start compiling a list. And when I see that there's a pattern in certain areas, maybe if we post the pictures on this show, maybe somebody will get the message and we'll come up with a better system for getting debris picked up in our city and keeping our city looking better. Some good news in Manchester for those who want to get around town, maybe don't own a car, maybe live downtown and don't need a vehicle. The bike share program is now up and running in Manchester. For those of you who don't know, it's run by a company called Zagster, and what they do is they set up bike racks with all their bikes. And for $2 an hour, you can borrow a bike from the bike stand for as many hours as you want. It's just $2 an hour. You can also buy a monthly membership for $15 and a yearly membership for $30. But basically, if you want to get from point A to point B in the city, or if you live downtown and you don't have a car and you want to take a bike ride, but you don't have a bike, or you need to get to the mall, or whatever the case may be, you can borrow a bike, go there, come back, and pay for the hours that you used it. I looked up online, and the 6 locations where these bike racks are Stanton Plaza, the YMCA on Mechanic Street, the Puritan Back Room in the North End, the Southern New Hampshire University Sandbox Collaborative. I'll be honest that I don't know where that is. Gateway Park, which is right there on Granite and Commercial, and also at City Hall Plaza. I am a little disappointed that there is nothing in West Manchester. They couldn't find one location. They couldn't put one up at St. A's or over at the Piscataqua River Park or someplace. It seems a little strange that there's nothing on the west side of Manchester, considering, West Manchester is a good chunk of the city. But I'm still excited that that's a program that has been implemented and is up and running. If anybody has any feedback on that, if anybody's tried it and had good experiences or bad experiences, by all means, again, email me at manchtalk@gmail.com. Another thing I wanted to speak about today that I read last week in the Union Leader but didn't have time to talk about it was there was an article about the I-93 Amoskeag Bridge area, exit 6 off of I-293, I-293, the west side, the north-south highway that runs straight through the city. For reference, today is Tuesday, June 6th when I tape this show. So if you're watching this on replay, keep in mind that today is Tuesday, June 6th. So when I reference tomorrow, it's Wednesday, not June 7th. It's not next week. Anyways, tomorrow night, Wednesday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m., there is a meeting at Northwest Elementary School, which is up on Uville Street, 300 Uville Street in Ward 12 in West Manchester. Because the state of New Hampshire, the Department of Transportation, is looking at reworking. They have a plan to totally rework exit 6, the Amoskeag Circle, Front Street, building a new exit up near Manchester Community College. Basically, the Amoskeag Circle, they're looking to totally eliminate that and do a total rework. They say it would be similar, their plans anyways, would have it be similar to Granite Street, but instead of where the ramps all come off and go under 293, the exits at exit 6 would come off and go over 293. And then there would be a Front Street interchange further north that would involve Manchester Community College and Front Street and connect to Dunbarton Road, which is where the drop-off facility is and stuff like that. I live in West Manchester, and I drive 293 north, whether I'm going up to Concord or whether I'm going up, to Hooksett to shop or, just to go up to the North Country or whatever the case may be. I use it fairly regularly at different times of the day, and while I don't particularly care for the on-ramps, the southbound on-ramps to 293 South, because I think it's awful that they need to merge right into the traffic that's trying to get off the highway. I think that was poorly designed, but it's not that dangerous. It's just not the most optimal thing. Perhaps it could be improved. For the amount of cars that I see there, I think there's maybe some signage or something could make that, warning drivers on 293 South that there's merging traffic. That could help that. The only ramp on or off in the Amoskeag Circle area that I really think has cause for concern is when you're traveling north on 293 and you're getting off at exit 6 onto the Amoskeag Circle, and it's in the evening when everybody's getting home from work. What happens is you come around the curve on I-293 and what you do not know, and all of a sudden there's traffic dead stopped in the lane or off to the shoulder, but it's backed up onto the highway. Now, this is only in the evenings when people are getting home from work is the only time I've ever run into this problem. It's not an all-day occurrence, and it just seems to be that there's not a large enough off lane. You've just got the two highway lanes and the shoulder. If the shoulder was widened to be an actual lane that traffic could pull into to get off, that would improve that. I also think that if you get off at exit 6 on the northbound side, if you're getting off and you're continuing over the bridge, if you're not stopping and going around the traffic circle, maybe that doesn't need to have a traffic light at all, so at least that flow of traffic could continue. So if you're traveling on 293 and you need to go to the mill yard, you would just merge right off the highway and onto the bridge and then down into the mill yard without having to stop at traffic lights and get backed up. I do think there's things that could be improved. I don't claim to have the answers to all of it. But what I do have significant concerns about is the cost involved in this and the impacts it'll have on the neighboring areas. The cost for the Exit 6 project is estimated to be at $96.2 million. $96.2 million when there's not that bad of a problem with the Amoskeag Circle. A little bit of backup that could be addressed with just an off-ramp lane doesn't seem to need the cost, to us to spend nearly $1 billion. That seems kind of crazy. Actually, I guess that's not $1 billion. Whatever, $96 million. Then They're saying the Exit 7 portion of this project, which would be the Front Street, Dunbarton Road, Manchester Community College area, that they're estimated could cost 55.8 million. So we're talking, upwards of $150 million. That's a lot of money for one section of highway. I mean, look at the 93 expansion. That's been going on for 10 years, 15 years? They're still not done. It's costing us millions and millions of dollars. I really don't think reworking things just for the sake of reworking them is the solution. I think that's money ill spent by the state of New Hampshire. And if it's going to be funded with federal grants, I think that's a bad use of federal tax dollars. I think there's roads and highways in New Hampshire and in Manchester specifically that need attention far more than the Amoskeag Circle area on-ramp, off-ramp situation. They're saying that the Amoskeag Bridge area would widen the highway to 3 lanes. Like I said, I don't know that we need 3 lanes for traffic. We just need a lane for when you're getting off the highway. Kind of like when you're coming up and you get off Granite Street, you've got that long ramp for traffic to back up on, so you don't get back up on the highway. So the ramp, there virtually is like this little teeny ramp on Amoskeag, so they really just need to somehow make a longer ramp there. I don't think we need to spend, almost $100 million to do that. They're saying it would either have to shift the highway towards the Merrimack River, which is concerning because we shouldn't be impacting the river, I don't think, if at all possible, or one of the historic mill buildings. That's crazy. We shouldn't be considering tearing down a historic mill building for a new highway interchange. To me, this is all just a little over the top. Now, on the Exit 7 project, they're talking about the Cedar Swamp Preserve. It would impact that. So, and that's owned by the Nature Conservancy. And whether you're a nature conservator or not, we should not. If businesses and people cannot build on areas that are considered preserves, why would we want a highway to impact those? I just think this has gotten a little out of control, and that meeting, like I said, is Wednesday, June 7th, which is tomorrow. So if you're watching this show on replay anytime after Wednesday, this has already happened. Wednesday, June 7th, 6:30 p.m., Northwest Elementary School, 300 Uville Street. Come on out, hear what they have to say, and I'll report back next week because I think I'm going to make sure that Dan and I have time to go and check out that meeting. So that's my updates on the city stuff. I did want to talk a little bit about upcoming elections for those of you who are new to Manchester or perhaps just can't keep track of which elections happen in what year. This is an odd numbered year, which means we have city elections, which means we'll be electing alderman and school board and welfare commissioner and mayor in the city of Manchester. If you're interested in running for an office and you live in Manchester and you're a Republican or a like-minded person, by all means, give me a holler. And I'll let you know if there's anybody running in your spot or in your ward, or if we need somebody to run there. Again, you can email me at ManchTalk@gmail.com, and I'd gladly put you in touch with all the right people if I don't have that information for you. Also, on the Republican note, I wanted to mention an event that's coming up in August, but it's such a great event that I want you to mark your calendars now. The Manchester GOP is holding its 5th annual Tiki fundraiser at Casey's Rib Shack out on their Tiki bar area. It's a great event. It's all you can eat food. There's cocktails involved. It's just $40 if you buy your tickets now. It ends up being $50 at the door. It is a great event. It's not full of political speeches. It's more of a way to just get out and meet like-minded people and help raise funds to get some tax fighters elected to City Hall this year. Tickets, you can find them on Eventbrite or on Facebook. You can just Google Manchester GOP or Tiki Fundraiser, and I'm sure you can find them. Or, like I said, if you want to email me at manchtalk@gmail.com, that would be fine. I don't know if that's always down there, but I think that's down at the bottom of the screen. As far as things to do this week and the next coming weeks, for those of you who don't know, there's the Millyard Museum, which is down on Commercial and Bedford Streets in the Millyard. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 10 to 4. It's $8 for adults, $6 for seniors and students, and I think it's $4 for kids up like 12 to 18 or something like that. It's got all sorts of interesting history. It's put together by the Manchester Historical Association, and I believe if you're a member there, you don't pay any admission. But that's a neat thing to do with all this dreary weather if you need to find something to do with the kids on the weekends. Again, they're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4, Commercial and Bedford Streets right there in the Mill Yard. That's the Mill Yard Museum. I also wanted to mention, coming up in a couple weeks is the mayor's senior luncheon. Every year the mayor hosts a senior luncheon. This year it's at the Radisson Hotel. It's on Wednesday, June 28th. It's open to people 55 and older. It runs from about 12:30 to 3:30, and various businesses in town donate items, and there's gifts and prizes and all sorts of stuff. The tickets will go on sale for that mayor's senior luncheon. They go on sale at the Cashin Senior Center, which is over on West Manchester on Main Street. They'll go on sale on May 23rd for the lunch that is on Wednesday, June 28th, and tickets are just $5. You can't beat that. So if you're 55 or older and want to go to that luncheon, by all means, check out, you can find information on the city website, which is manchesternh.gov. You can scroll down and there's a thing there about the mayor's senior luncheon. Coming up this weekend, June 10th, this is the second Saturday of the month, which means New Hampshire residents have free admission at the Courier Museum of Art. Can't beat free. Free's a great price. If you arrive between 10 a.m. and noon at the museum, which is in the north end of Manchester, you'll get free admission. Now, if there's any special exhibits, you still would have to pay for them, but general admission to the museum itself would be free to anybody that's a New Hampshire resident. So if you've never been to the Courier Art Museum, or if it happens to be raining on Saturday, it's a great way to spend the day checking out some great artwork. And again, it's free. Free is a big word. Also coming up this weekend, on Saturday, June 10th, again, hopefully the weather's better, is the YMCA Rock the Block event. They'll be hosting a free event on Mechanic Street at 1 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturday, June 10th. They'll have hamburgers and hot dogs, and they have a DJ, and they'll have dancing and games and stuff like that. And it's free, so it's a great thing to do to get out in downtown Manchester, and something for the kids to do. You can't beat free. Free is a great word. That takes care of the YMCA Rock the Block. I don't know what that noise was, but there was just some strange noise on the table here. I also want to make people aware of the fact that June 10th through 18th is Laconia Bike Week, and even though Laconia is not right here, that does mean that there's an increased number of motorcycles in and around Manchester traveling up to Bike Week. So please, when you're driving, especially on the highways, but also on the side streets, be extra cautious and pay attention to your surroundings so that there's fewer motorcycle accidents than there have been in past years. It just takes a little bit extra caution on everybody's part to prevent motorcycle accidents. Coming up this Sunday, June 11th, is KidsCon New England at the Radisson at 10 a.m. What this is a comic book convention just for kids. I love Marvel comics and things like that. I don't generally go to the Comic-Con events, but if I had kids, maybe I would check this event out. You can get more information at KidsConNE, KidsConNE.com. Kids 5 to 17, it's $10. Adults are $12. Kids under 5 are free. It's a great thing, especially if it does end up raining on Sunday. You would have, it's a great thing to do indoors. AmuskegFishways.org. I talk about them all the time. AmuskegFishways.org. Fish season runs through June 17th. You can see the migrating fish through the underground windows. They're located right there just off the Amuskeg Circle. You can get more information from them at AmuskegFishways.org. I also want to mention the New Hampshire Audubon Society at Massabesic again, NHAudubon.org. That's NHAUDUBON.org. The Massabesic Center is located at 26 Audubon Way, just outside of Manchester in Auburn. There are 5 miles of sanctuary trails that are open from dawn to dusk. Great walk if you want to get out and walk with your family. The center itself, I think it's like 5,000 square feet. They have a center there. They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and it is free, although they will take donations. And lastly, I wanted to give people a heads up. Has nothing to do with Manchester, but I know I always forget about it. Next weekend, Friday the 16th through Saturday the 17th, is the sand sculpting classic at Hampton Beach. If you've never seen, it's a competition of sand sculptures, and there's viewer choice awards, and there's all this award ceremony that happens on Saturday night. But it's amazing to go and see these sculptures that these people make out of sand. Hopefully the weather next weekend will be warm enough to want to be at the beach, but that's next weekend, the 16th and 17th of June. So that gives you things to do, whether it's raining or not raining. I did want to quickly talk about deals on restaurants going on right here in Manchester. Piccola Italia still has a $15 for 30 deal on Cooptopia.com, as does XO on Elm, which is right next to Piccola. They have two offers. They have a 15 for 30 for any day of the week, or a 20 for 40 Monday through Thursday. Both of those are for dinner only. You can find those on Cooptopia.com. And also Stark Brewing, which is formerly Millie's down in the Mill Yard. They have a 15 for 30 also on Cooptopia.com. It's a great way to try restaurants if you haven't tried them before, and it's also a great way if they happen to be places that you enjoy to eat. Also, today is June 6th, and this one ends today, so if you're seeing this on Tuesday night, you can still take advantage of it. On Groupon.com, the Pint Public House, which is right here on Elm Street, they have a $9 coupon for a $20 meal, or a $17 coupon for a $40 meal. That one ends today, June 6th. That's on Groupon.com. You can't beat these deals. I know this is how Dan and I find a way to check out restaurants without spending a fortune. That's really all I have for this week. I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, that the weather does improve and we have a drier weekend than we're having during the week. I look forward to the weather getting warmer and getting out in the kayak here on the Merrimack River, or up in Goffstown on the various lakes, or on Doors Pond, or wherever. But right now it's still a little too cool for that. If you've never kayaked before, you should check out Edgewater Kayaks in Hooksett. You can also get a coupon there from Cooptopia.com as well. If you have any feedback on the show, if there's anybody you'd like me to have on the show, subject matter you'd like to hear about, or if there's a question about anything I've mentioned and you missed the email address or anything, you can email me at manchtalk@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to get information back to you. You can also follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at ManchTalk. That's all I really have. I'm glad you joined me. I hope you join me again next week. And until then, please enjoy all the good, the bad, and the wonderful things here in Manchester. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.